Wrestling is a magical and mystical sport that is full of legends and all kinds of myths. The fans and wrestlers as well have created a mysterious story about the Curse of Pentagon. The legend says that the wrestlers that have used the gimmick eventually suffered awful injuries and had tragical endings. There have been several versions of the Pentagon character, however, most of them have had terrible experiences. Tlacul Lucha Libre and Wrestling presents The Curse of Pentagon. The beginning, Pentagon. The first Pentagon ever was Jesus Andrade Salazar. When he got offered the gimmick, he was already a very experienced wrestler. Back in the day, he was El Espanto Jr. and lost his mask to El Hijo del Santo. He belongs to the Moro dynasty, a family of great luchadors such as his brother Brillante and his nephew Manny Andrade, also known as Andrade Cien Almas in WWE and La Sombra in CMLL. Jesus had great success in Arena Mexico, but when Lucha Libre AAA was created by Antonio Peña, he offered him to work for his brand new company. That was when he became Santo Negro, a foreign enemy of El Hijo del Santo. This storyline came to an end when other members of Santo's family objected to such use of the Santo name, which led to Santo Negro converting to Pentagon in 1995 and changing his focus to Octagon. This wrestling character was created in order to be Octagon's nemesis and start a long feud. Their outfits were very similar, but the fans could tell the huge difference of styles between both luchadors. In fact, Andrade became a lot more popular than the Técnico Octagon, and the fans loved him. The Pentagon gimmick lasted a bit longer, but Andrade was forced into immediate retirement in early 1996 when he collapsed in the ring and nearly died in Aguascalientes. He was totally paralyzed and almost blind for several years. Eventually he recovered but never wrestled again. Nowadays he shows up in the Lucha Libre arenas and preaches about his experience wearing the Pentagon and Espanto outfit. The second one, Pentagon 2 or Pentagon Black. When Jesus Andrade retired, AAA immediately gave the Pentagon gimmick to a different wrestler, Joe Mercado, a very experienced and talented luchador, with great mic skills and lots of charisma. This is the version that lasted the longest. However, the wrestler started to lose relevance and disappeared from the main events. He had serious disagreements with AAA and left the company. He started to work in the indie circuit, mostly in Japan and the US, using the gimmick Pentagon Black. He lost the Pentagon Black mask to El Hijo del Santo back in 2007. Right after losing his mask, he got fired and sick of Lucha Libre and suddenly quit. He started to work in the oil industry in Texas and nowadays he's married to the ex-wrestler Xochitl Hamada. The one that lost his mask, Pentagon X. When Joe Mercado left AAA, the company started to look for a new wrestler in order to have a third version of Pentagon. The chosen one was Ricardo Moreno Antonio. He had been wrestling for many years using the gimmicks of Dragon Chino in 1985 and Hong Kong Lee in 1996. This version of Pentagon had a long feud with Octagon for about a year or so. Finally, in Triple Mania 10, Pentagon and Octagon had a great mask versus mask match on July the 5th, 2002. Pentagon lost his mask and that was the beginning of the end. The character just wasn't the same after that night. That loss was a point break, a continuous downfall that never stopped. He quit AAA and many years later he wrestled in several arenas using the mask and the name Pentagon X. The fans hated the gimmick and totally disapproved it, because everybody knew that he had lost the mask already. Ricardo Moreno could never get over it and just quit wrestling. A very sad ending for a very talented and skilled luchador. The mini version, Pentagoncito. Mini versions of AAA luchadores were very popular back in the day. That's why the company came up with the idea of having a little version of Pentagon. Bernabé Garcia had been wrestling as El Conquistador, Mini Yeti, Mini Cardis La Momia. The Pentagoncito gimmick was created back in 1995 and Antonio Peña decided to give it to him. The fans liked them and quickly became one of the most popular Mini Rudos. He defeated Mascarita Sagrada in 1997 and became Mini National Champion. Unfortunately, on that same year, he was charged with homicide and put in jail. Many times he has said that he was unfairly accused, but since he never knew much about laws and legal procedures, he just couldn't defend himself. He was sentenced to spend 18 years in jail. All that time, he gave wrestling and physical training lessons to the inmates. Bernabé Garcia, aka Pentagoncito, is not in jail anymore, free to wrestle again and working in the indie circuit of Mexican Lucha Libre. A new victim, Pentagon Jr. This is the Pentagon that we all know, one of the stars of all elite wrestling, one half of the Lucha Brothers tag team with his brother Phoenix. Here's some history. Guerra de Titanes 2013 was a huge AAA event. Many important things happened that night, such as the first appearance of Pentagon Jr. He had been wrestling using the battle name Cyrus, Hijo de Cuchillo, and Dark Dragon, mostly in the indie circuit. When he first got offered the Pentagon gimmick, many people warned him about the Curse of Pentagon, but he kept saying he wasn't afraid and didn't care about it. That's when he created the Cero Miedo mantra, which translates to zero fear. This means he has no fear of anyone or anything. He fights with no fear and he has no problem hurting anyone who gets in his way. Cero Miedo drives him to be as aggressive as possible to reach his goals. Cero Miedo is not just a phrase, it's a way of life. A few years later, he left AAA and became Penta El Cero M in order to avoid legal problems. In 2015, he debuted as Pentagon Dark in Lucha Underground as a vicious rudo who, after defeating his opponents, would use an armbar to break an arm. He was being guided by a mysterious master or maestro who encouraged him in his evil ways. His fans call him Penta, and he's one of the most important wrestlers around the world. Penta has won many titles: AAA World Tag Team and Mixed Tag Team Champion, AAA Latin American Champion, Impact World Champion, Lucha Underground Champion, PCW Heavyweight Champion, World Submission Lucha Champion, and AEW Tag Team Champion. He also won Ares's and Sami Callihan's hair, as well as Villano Cuarto's mask in Triple Mania 30's main event. There have been some other wrestlers that have used the Pentagon gimmick, such as Lady Pentagon. The Japanese wrestling company Arceon introduced the Lady Pentagon character in the early 2000s, but it lasted just a few shows. The wrestler lost the Lady Pentagon mask in 2003. The luchadora under the mask was Amapola, a very famous Mexican wrestler that won many titles and important matches years after losing her mask. Nowadays, she's one of the biggest female wrestlers in Mexico, but back in the day, using the Pentagon gimmick didn't have much success. Pentagon Viper. Masada is a Japanese wrestler that used the Pentagon Viper gimmick while working for the company 01. Pentagoncito Black. There isn't much information about this mini wrestler, except for the fact that he wrestled before using the names Mini Pentagon Black and Pentagoncito. Hijo de Penta Black. This is a new wrestler that isn't related to Joe Mercado at all. Back in the day, the original Pentagon Black allowed his mini version to use the Pentagoncito Black gimmick. And nowadays, he allowed his nephew to use the Hijo de Pentagoncito Black name. That being said, this wrestler is not Pentagon Black's son, but Pentagoncito Black's nephew. Hija de Penta El Cero Miedo. As far as we know, Penta El Cero Miedo's daughter is still a little 9-year-old girl, but she's planning on becoming a wrestler when she grows up. Penta is okay and happy with her idea and has said many times that he will support his daughter when the time comes. The name Pentagon has become a huge tradition in Mexican lucha libre, and nowadays is known all around the world. Is it really a curse or maybe a gift? It looks like Penta El Cero Miedo has become the missing link in this mysterious chain of tragical events. It all seems like the Pentagon gimmick has helped him to become a wrestling star and make all his dreams come true. Penta has achieved fame, glory, and success. Will it always be the same way? Only time and world wrestling history will tell. If you have any more information and details about the Pentagon character, please leave it in the comments. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to follow me in Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. ¡Viva la lucha!